Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now get any breakfast sandwich for just $2. Available only through the app. Mobile order and pay available at participating McDonald's. McD app download and registration required.
You know when you order a new video game, or a golf club, or a blender, and then it arrives at your door, you get a little thrill. Imagine how much more thrilling it is when you order a new car. With Nissan at home, you can shop for the perfect ride and order it without ever having to go anywhere. Sure beats a golf club or a blender. Buy a new car entirely online with Nissan at home. Delivered direct from dealer to driveway. Thrill starts here. Services may vary at participating dealers, subject to applicable law. See dealer for details.
Ryan Ting. Nice. Magic Almost. Nice. Mark Zuckerberg. Naughty. It's not nice to delete people's Instagram accounts. Steve Ozer. He didn't make that tank the boys wanted. Who am I kidding? Very nice. You snuck up on me. You'd think after over a year of Zoom calls with the elves in the remote workshop, I'd be used to this sort of thing. While I may be a social distancing champion, I still can't get the hang of these virtual meetings. Anyway, I'm just finishing going over my list one last time before the big day. And two of my favorite nice listers, except for that 1 year, Erik, you know what you did, asked me if I'd be interested in delivering a holiday message to their AIC family. 2021 was yet again a challenging year, but a community faced with the threat of a global pandemic and supply chain issues among other things. You all still found ways to connect and brought countless hours of joy to each other through live streams, giveaways, incredible art, and so much more. Me and my elves can't do it alone, and with your help, we're ready to celebrate the holidays and spread that special Christmas feeling all over the world. Ho, 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 ho. Continue to take care of each other, and remember, Santa is always watching. Now, this list won't check itself. Merry Christmas! Ho, 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 ho.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Erik.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting. Happy holidays. We made it.
Are those bells I hear?
Yes. Yeah, those are the bells that you're hearing. I don't know if Santa has turned off the Zoom, but of course, Santa, our good friend, Santa Claus, sending holiday greetings our way, kind words, just wonderful things coming from the North Pole as we gear up to the big day. So this is our annual holiday episode.
Also, hi. I brought it back as a gift for the holidays.
I was just gonna say it's a Christmas miracle, Dave. You brought it back. So today, if this is the first time you are listening to Adventures in Collecting, welcome. We do have an annual holiday episode. We call it the Ghosts of Christmas Past, where each year we dive into the our Christmas pasts. I don't know other way to say that.
Volume 3. It's the third
yeah,
volume.
This is volume 3. This is our third
in the
annual
ongoing
one.
tome that is The Ghosts of Christmas Past.
I'm picturing one of those, like, like the old Disney animation, like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, where this is like the gilded book that opens on the on the pedestal. Eventually, we'll have our own version of that if we keep going with these. That's the idea, right?
And if you'd like to help us make that book,
yeah, if you'd like to help us make that book, click the links in our bios and buy toys, because that helps us, believe it or not.
I was going to outsource the making of the book.
Oh, well, I mean that too. If anyone wants to make us like a lovely gilded book that says Ghosts of Christmas Past, Adventures in Collecting on it, I mean,
I would do it, but like construction paper, and it would not pass muster.
It would be like Be Kind Rewind. It would be the sweeted version of the book. That's if you made it. It'd be like instead of being like a foil paper, it would be like aluminum foil roughly cut out to spell Ghosts of Christmas Past, and then like Elmer glued to a piece of cardboard. That would be the cover if you did it.
100%, and illegible, just completely illegible.
So, for this special episode, before we get into the Christmas topic, we do have a guest with us today. Somebody that we have been trying to get on the show for a while, trying to make this work out. Because once again, dealing with crazy time differences. Joining us on the pod today is everyone's favorite satirical toy reviewer, blogger, comedian. Joining us today is the internationally famous ToyFarce. ToyFarce, welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Thank you for having me.
So it's
internationally famous. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, well, you are a part of Toy News International, are you not?
I am. I absolutely am.
Yeah, so you're internationally famous now. That's what it is. So we'll get into a little bit more of what ToyFarce does on a day-to-day, just in case you are not yet in the know about him. But before we do that, it's been a minute. Let's hop into some news and some hauls. Dave, would you like to start us off with any recent news? I know that there was some interesting stuff in the world of wrestling figures today. As we record this
today.
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss something?
Well, while you catch up on that, because
I've only recently woken up, so.
Oh, well, this is true. I'm used to us recording at night, and our time, it's still like very much so the morning. So while you catch up on that, literally as of this recording, slightly delaying our recording, the Hasbro folks, specifically over at Marvel, had a bunch of announcements this morning, December 16th. They announced a full wave of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness Marvel Legends figures that feature another Doctor Strange, the long-awaited debut of Wong, a new astral projection Doctor Strange that looks really neat. The debut of the MCU's America Chavez. So she's going to be in that film, which was announced going back on Disney Plus, but this is the first time we're getting a really good look at her. We have a new look at Mordo, how Mordo is going to look in this film, and he's looking very villainous. And then we have Sleepwalker and Despair from the comic world, and the Build-A-Figure is Rintra. I previously am not super familiar with Rintra. I had to look him up, but he is a big old green minotaur. And it appears as if the Build-A-Figure is going to be from the MCU. So we can expect to see a giant anthropomorphic Minotaur man in the Multiverse of Madness. So they announced that wave. There is also a Target exclusive Defender Strange deluxe figure, again from Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange is rocking some crazy looking red and black getup that we're not used to seeing him in. No cape, and he does come with the portal, a giant portal effect, sling ring portal effect. So that's pretty neat. And then from going back to like the comics universe, they announced a deluxe Ragnarok, robot Thor, basically, loaded with accessories. It's got everyone's favorite Thor accessory, which is like the multi hammer that looks like it's mid swinging. And that also appears to be at this juncture a Target exclusive. And both of those deluxe figures are running the $30-ish mark, and the rest of the wave available on Amazon, Pulse, Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, all the places are carrying the Multiverse of Madness wave, and those retail for $22.99 a piece.
Yay,
Dave,
Target exclusives, our favorites.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, you're in Finland, a place
Yes.
that is very much so on both Dave and my travel bucket lists. When something like that happens, where there's like a Target exclusive, what does that do to you as a collector?
That means I will have to look it up on eBay or count on some friends in the US to find it for me. Because
Gotcha.
usually the exclusives, they don't show up here. There is a website, Zavi, where they sometimes have some of the ASLab exclusive and things like that, but the Target or Walmart ones, that just impossible to find from our side of the pond, let's say.
Gotcha.
So yeah, eBay prices. Woohoo!
Let me know if you need any of those Target things, and we'll work it out.
Thanks, appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we'll figure it out. No pun intended on figure, because I just realized I said that.
Hey, leave the puns to ToyFarce, okay? He's here for that this episode.
Leave that to professionals, please.
Now, Dave, are you caught up? Are you ready to lay it on us with some wrestling news?
I found any one of three things that this could be. So I'm going to go in order of. They're all exciting. So I'm going to start with the one that started earliest today, which is Cella is announced their first bone-crushing wrestler in the vein and genre of the Jack's bone-crunching
Nice.
superstars, and this one fits in very nicely. It's Blue Meanie, so that's pretty cool. The pre-order looks to start on January 22nd, so that's cool. And also we saw Danhausen leave Series 2 of Wrestling's Heels and Faces to get his own special release, so that left a gap in friend of the pod Zombie Sailor's Series 2 lineup. And that's going to be Andre the Giant now, so that's really cool. Andre in the singlet, so very cool. And then there's one that I had no idea existed, but I am extremely excited for. Apparently Storm Collectibles is making a Minoru Suzuki, which rules.
I saw the picture. I was like, oh my God.
I've only seen the head, but that's amazing, and immediately shot up to near the top of my things I'm excited for next year list.
Now I gotta ask, because those Storm Collectibles figures, they're a little bit, in terms of like wrestling figures, they're a little bit larger than, they're more kind of like in like the 7 to 8 inch scale, as opposed to that 7 inch, like what Jazzwares and Mattel is doing. Mm-hmm. Has Suzuki ever fought Liger?
Oh yeah, they had a huge rivalry. That's why this makes
even his
so
final
much
rivalry
sense.
was against him when he removed the costume and became the evil Liger again and all that.
Oh, there you go. That answers my. So my knowledge of Japanese wrestling is very, very small. Like extremely
huge rivalry
small.
that goes back a long time.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's awesome then. Because I was thinking, in terms of just modern wrestling and me getting back into it, like, oh, it would be cool to pick that up, to have him like to pose him with say like Moxley or something.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gonna probably be too big.
That Series 2 Moxley's huge. That'll work.
Touche.
Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, well, we'll see when you get them.
Yeah.
Having an
Yeah.
action figure of Murder Grandpa is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Any other news that we should probably cover? I just wanted to touch on it super briefly, but the vintage collection team, again over at Hasbro, has been super busy. With the, I hate to beat the dead horse, but with the failure of the HasLab Rancor, I know the Black Series collectors and fans are feeling a little beat up, by the team and kind of the way that things are going. It seems to be a lot of repaints as of late, and just kind of few and far between of things to be excited about in the world of the Black Series. However, the vintage collection, which in my opinion has kind of been, I don't want to say neglected, but has definitely taken a back seat in most recent years, is seeing some much needed and much deserved attention. I mean, we've said it countless times on this show, but the Star Wars Vintage Collection, 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures, represents arguably one of the most important scales and figure lines in the history of modern toy. So it's nice to see that the team is kind of putting a not only putting a spotlight on the line, but also giving us some really cool things in those deluxe sets that were recently announced. There was a series of deluxe sets from The Mandalorian with Ahsoka and Grogu, the Incinerator Trooper and Grogu, a stormtrooper with a pulse cannon that will go very nicely with that Navarro Cantina playset that they announced back at PulseCon. There is the deluxe Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett and Fennec Shand on a single card from the Book of Boba Fett. So just lots of things to be excited about in the world of the vintage collection. If as a longtime 3 3/4 Star Wars collector, it feels nice to have things to be excited about in that line. Emily and the team over there, say what you will about what's going on in the world of the Black Series, but they're absolutely crushing it for the vintage collection collectors. So,
and those retro-looking boxes look awesome as well. Like really. They look exactly like the old ones. Yeah,
and I love that they've moved. A lot of the toy companies are starting to move away from using plastic in packaging wherever they can, and these big paneled deluxe boxes with like really great toy photography on them. I think they look fantastic, and they are very reminiscent of the kind of that Kenner aesthetic from the late 70s and and into the 80s. So
exactly.
Not only is it a chance to remove plastic and be a little more environmentally friendly, but it's they look great. So I think it's the best of both worlds. Collectors who keep things mint will have something to be excited about there, and then we got to be good to the environment. We can't enjoy toys if we don't have a world to enjoy them in.
That's a good point. Yes.
Any other news, Dave?
I know the other two HasLabs were successful.
Yes. One of which you are a happy backer of.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah. The Proton Pack.
Awesome.
That's a future gift. It's already known, so not a spoiler for that. But
is it a gift to yourself?
No. So a couple of years ago, I got the Neutrona wand for my girlfriend, and so I was like, "Well, this is clearly the next future big gift." So,
and
what's cool is they got all the way through to the stand, so everything's coming with it.
I was just gonna say it was hugely successful. I mean, the final tally was like 21,000 backers.
Yeah, what was cool was there was no doubt about this.
Yeah.
It was just a question of what tier it was going to get. And it blew through even the 15,000 that they needed.
Yeah, I honestly, I knew that the Proton Pack was going to get backed, and when they announced that one of the tiers was the ability to connect it to the Neutrona wand, I knew that at least that would get done.
Yeah.
You know, because it only makes sense. Yeah, there are a lot of cosplayers out there and people who do like prop replicas themselves. That could have probably very easily figured out a way to connect the two together. But
Mhm.
you know, an official way to do it is awesome, and something I actually didn't know until I watched a very interesting video with Hasbro's John Warden and Adam Savage of MythBusters fame, who was actually
Yeah.
a consultant on the Ghostbusters film. Which all of this was kind of like a realization to me as I was watching this video on Adam Savage's tested YouTube channel. So the Neutrona wand has its own kind of separate battery pack that needs to be either, I don't know if it's loaded with batteries or if it's USB and needs to be plugged in, but it has a battery pack in the
Believe
Neutrona wand.
it's batteries.
So this cable, when you actually pull out the battery pack from the Neutrona wand, and when you plug in the cable, it plugs into the now absent battery connector. So you don't need to have two battery packs going. The Neutrona wand will actually run off of the juice coming out of the Proton Pack.
Which explains why it was a tier and not just like a plastic hose that connects the two.
Yep, it is an actual
Yeah.
like way to power the Neutrona wand from, and I believe too it allows them to. There's some kind of like level of like syncing up that they do through the connection. At least it appeared that way in the video, that like the vibrations and things kind of like worked together once they're connected, which again makes complete sense. But yeah, hugely successful campaign there. And then Dave, you mentioned the G.I. Joe Sky Striker. Again, huge success. Unfortunately, didn't get to all the tiers, but it covered a lot of ground in that last 24 hours.
Yeah, and they added the Cobra mission figures at the last minute when Cobra hacked their websites.
Brilliant. That was brilliant. The video to
voice,
announce
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely brilliant. And again, like a way to, with the price point of the new O-ring figures being at like $20 a pop, at the end of the day, I think backers are getting 7 of those figures carded with the Sky Striker. So that alone, you know, in terms of kind of just perceived value of the project,
Definitely a good deal.
Yeah, it takes a sizable chunk out of that final cost and really brings the price of the jet down a considerable amount when you kind of break it up that way. Yeah, Lenny and Emily and the team at Hasbro on the G.I. Joe side, they really did a great job of kind of being nimble and pivoting where they needed to in order to get that across the finish line. So with that, I think that moves us into our hauls, into our pickups. And ToyFarce, since you're our guest, why don't you go first? Tell us a couple of things you've gotten recently that have been you've been waiting for.
Oh yeah, first of all, thanks for saying I'm the guest and not bearing the lead. Wink, wink.
You didn't do that. You just got called out.
Right away.
Damn it. That's it. Hit stop. Christmas is canceled.
Don't be a Grinch. So, I haven't yet received the last pile of loot that I sent, but I have already 11 items more on the current pile of loot, so I guess I'll ship that very soon, in which I have like a couple of plunderlings, because who has enough plunderlings? That never happens. You always need more. I picked on Big Bad Toy Store. They ended up having the Black Series Holiday Edition, the Stormtroopers and all, like dressed for Christmas, that they had as exclusive of 5 different stores last year, which were impossible to get for me in Europe. They had them on Big Bad Toy Store, so I picked them all. And then they are starting to receive the Spawn Mcfarland figures, the first wave, the Redeemer, Clown, Violator, and the third one, which I don't remember. Oh, Raven Spawn, I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the NECA Black and White Frankenstein, which are now in my pile of loot and are on their way to me. So I should receive 2 pile of loots at once. That's going to be fun to explain. And also the Super 7 Donatello, which came a couple of days ago, has now landed there. So that will soon be on its way.
They
How
saved
about
the best
you?
turtle for last. They saved the
Yes.
best turtle for last.
Did you also grow up liking another turtle, and in the end you like Donatello later on?
You know, I think I honestly don't remember, but truthfully, I would not be surprised if my favorite as a kid was Michelangelo, only because like pizza and nunchucks rule. Um, and like
Can't argue
he's the
with
funny
that.
one. Like he's the one that's like definitely targeted towards kids. But I
Mhm.
always liked to tinker, and I was always kind of like nerdy in that sense. That like I wanted to know how things work. I used to take things apart. My Dave and my parents can tell you the amount of times that our VCR was screwed up because I wanted to know what was going on inside of it. Um, so I think Donatello kind of always resonated with me in that sense, that like he was kind of
Mhm.
like the nerd that could still, frankly kick ass. So I think he might have been my favorite from as early as I can remember. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Mikey ended up being my favorite at some point. You know what? The thing that I remember most fondly, just trying to really kind of like rack my brain. I think part of the reason why Donatello made me was my favorite as long as I can remember, was he kind of also towed the line of being kind of goofy in Secret of the Ooze. Like if you think about that opening sequence when they're beating up all the ninjas in the shopping mall.
Mhm.
He pretends to be like the clown thing that's like bouncing back and forth and
Yes.
like doing like that rocking motion and everything, and like that scene always just made me laugh. And like the stuff going on in the lab when they're trying to like get the last canister of ooze, like he towed the line in that film of like nerd and funny, and so I think it probably was always Donnie.
I mean, for me, it was always Michelangelo for the reasons stated by Erik. Really, he was the comic relief. Like he was always the big goofball, and was like the big pizza guy and all that stuff. So I mean, they all love pizza, but he was like the big proponent of the pizza. Which who doesn't love pizza? So
Seriously, I mean it's a hard argument to break, really.
It's funny. For me, I was a Raphael kid. I always grew up thinking Raphael was the most badass one and all dark and brooding and all that. And I even had that was my favorite figure that I had as a child. And once we went on a hike with some friends of my parents or something, and I lost my Raphael in a river. But I just dropped it once and it just freaking disappeared. And my father went to like every toy store possible to try to find another Raphael because I was like impossible to. It was impossible to get me to stop, like to be sad. But then as I grew up, I guess, yeah, started to think, Donatello is actually better. He can make stuff. He's an inventor. He's also funny. And
Now,
now
do
I
you
guess
think
Raphael
some
is number
kid?
2 instead of first.
Do you think somewhere else in the world there was some kid that was like hanging out by the end of like an estuary somewhere, and all of a sudden saw a floating Raphael, and like that became his favorite figure?
It's either that or there's a bunch of fish that are having so much fun with my action figure for the last 20 years.
He ended up on that plastic island, like floating in the
Yes.
middle of the Atlantic.
Damn it. I gotta go and check.
Good. Let us know if you find him. That's all right. So I guess I'll go. Halls. So my top 10 of the year got completely upended with the figure that I got in the mail yesterday. I got the Mythic Legion's Four Horsemen Studios Krampus figure.
Dangerous.
Oh my god, this figure is an absolute work of art from start to finish. From the box, which is beautiful. They actually put in a Happy Holidays, think like old school, like 1970s style Christmas card, and it says Happy Holidays with like the gold foil font, and it's this really nice kind of like almost watercolory looking art. But if you look closely, it's actually Krampus like dragging a child through the snow to his like horror cabin.
Nice.
Um,
Dark.
it's like beautiful and also terrifying. Which I think is the 3-word review of the figure itself: beautiful but terrifying. Because it is. It is an absolute work of art that's like filled. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that ordered it and has not yet opened it. But it's filled with kind of some surprises. I will say, be careful when you open the basket that he comes with, because there are some hidden goodies in there. Yeah, really, really, really great figure. One of the benefits of living very, very close by to the Four Horsemen Studios HQ in Little Falls, New Jersey, I got a shipping notification and pretty much 12 hours later had the figure. So can't complain there. Absolutely awesome figure. Like I said, I have to rethink of my entire top 10 now, how it's gonna net out because of this guy. And then the other thing that I got literally right before we started recording, I made my first ever Mezco Toys purchase a few weeks ago, and I ordered the Advent calendar, and so I have their Advent calendar here. Looking forward to cracking that open. I have literally just taken it out of the shipper, and it's a gorgeous green and red boombox looking box, and it's way bigger than I anticipated it was going to be. But I have that, so I'm looking forward to cracking that open and catching up, because it's already the 16th, so I have quite a few days to open. And then other than that, I also did pick up the Mcfarland Peacemaker figure from Amazon. And if you are following us on Instagram, which if you're not, you should be, because it's fun. We're at AIC_podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok. But I got Peacemaker from Amazon, but not at first. Amazon shipped me a figure swap. Somebody had put in a Frankenstein version of John Cena, because it was a basic John Cena with an elite, or might have even been an ultimate head on the basic, had taken the sword and the trading card, but was nice enough to leave me the King Shark arms that I didn't need, and the base, the little plastic DC Multiverse base. So
how generous.
Right? Really, really nice of them. So I got on the Amazon chat and I explained to them what I was looking at, because I didn't want to just hit return and be like, like
yeah.
Someone else can have this from the used section.
Yeah, so I messaged them and they said, sorry about that, just return it like usual, and we'll send you a new one. And they next dayed me one. So I now have the DC Multiverse Peacemaker figure. May have to hit up our friends at Resin Armory for a better pistol for Peacemaker here. I have an oversized Marvel Legends one in his hand right now that looks pretty good, but I kind of want the one that he has in the movie, and I think Resin Armory has a mold for that, so might have to hit him up. But I saw the trailer for the Peacemaker series, and that pushed me over the edge. I was holding off on getting the figure, but after seeing that trailer and kind of realizing that there might be a little more longevity to this character, I had to pull the trigger. So those are my pickups. Dave.
Yeah, that's a good figure. I have that as well. So my top 10 also got a little upended recently, because I got the Mcfarland DC Multiverse Swamp Thing Mega Fig.
Ooh.
From Amazon.
With the antlers or without?
No, without. Just the standard non-GameStop one.
I would have picked that one too, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of looks more like what you envision Swamp Thing to be. And like what we know him from the movies and all that good stuff, the cartoons. It's huge. It might be too big, but it's also awesome and very... It's one of those figures where when you see pictures of it, it doesn't show you really the detail that's in the figure. It's awesome. I you just when that episode comes up, do not be surprised to see where it falls in the top 10. Other than that, I got a couple other Mcfarland DC figures. The Birds of Prey Harley Quinn came in. The Kenner Superpowers looking Lex Luthor came in. What else?
I saw an unboxing video earlier today of a certain Unrivaled Series 2.
Yes, Unrivaled Series 2 came. Or Unmatched.
Lucky.
Unmatched.
Oh, Unmatched, my bad, yeah.
Yeah, that came yesterday, or 2 days ago. I forget when. I don't know what day it is anymore. But it showed up very recently, and that's the benefit to being a short drive from Ringside Collectibles. When that shipping notice goes up, it's going to be here the next day.
Note to self: move to New Jersey.
Yeah,
it's a good place. New Jersey gets a bad rap, but we're in a good spot.
I love all the Kevin Smith movies. I'm fine with that.
You'll fit right in here.
That is also a short drive from where we are. But it's Unrivaled 2 is good. I think the real standouts, the Sting is awesome.
That's the one I want.
Ty Conti is really good too. Those are probably, I would say, the two standouts in the series.
How about Wardlow?
Wardlow's cool. I don't love the yelling face. I think the regular face is better.
Okay.
But it looks good. Wardlow looks good. Santana and Ortiz are, I think, minor upgrades. But they are like a little bit of a step up from the first figure. But whereas they were really the standouts of their first series, the newer figures are the standouts of this one. If that makes sense.
How's the MJF?
I see.
Despicable. Yeah, I mean he's definitely everyone's least favorite wrestler, but I still think I like the robe. The robe is it's not a cloth robe. It's like a rubbery robe. But I still think Series 2 is the best one.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. Out of the ones that I've seen, in hand. I haven't seen the, obviously I haven't been over yet to see the new ones, but there's just something about the face on that Series 2 that's like perfect. Because it's
the smirk.
It strikes. I love, and Dave and I have talked about this many times, but like I love a face that's smirking, especially for photography, because depending on what side of the face you're taking, you can really get like two expressions out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Like there's this Roman Reigns head sculpt. I think it was like a top picks. It was still when he was a face, but he's making this like this smirk that's awesome because like
I think it's that head of the table one I have, like where he was just coming back, but in the process of turning.
Yes. And it's perfect because like no matter what way you look at it, like you can have him looking mad, you can have him looking obviously it is a heel smirk, same as MJF, so like you're not going to make him look like a good guy with it, but like you can get kind of more, it's a little bit more dynamic than a face that's like permanently screaming or a face that's like permanently smiling. So I love neutral expressions or smirks. I think those work kind of the best just in general.
You have to take a peek with the MJF from Series 2, that Roman Reigns you just talked about, and the Marvel Legends Ant-Man Paul Rudd figure where they all smirk to the camera. That would be awesome. A cool picture.
Definitely. And I can actually throw into the there's the Ego figure from Marvel Legends.
Yes.
He's got a good smirk too.
And then put the smirking head on the Matt Cardona figure when it arrives.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Can't
true.
wait for those. Cannot wait for those.
Yeah,
that'll be my first.
Those are on the stuff that I'm looking forward to as well.
My first ever pile of loot from Big Bad Toy Store will be Valaverse Sergeant Slaughter and Super 7 Ultimate Matt Cardona. That will be my first ever pile of loot when those two, because they're scheduled to arrive. Like, some people are already getting their Valiverse figures.
Yeah.
They've just started coming in, the Action Force. So they're scheduled to hit Big Bad Toy Store like around the same time. So I shouldn't have to wait too long. But that's one where like I've had those two sitting in my pre-orders for a very long time now.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Now. At least a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Brian I'll be getting as well. But I also
I'm getting
partook.
both, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting both. I partook in some of the Ringside Black Friday / Cyber Monday sales. Caught up on those 1B variants of Unrivaled, just so I have ones that are openers, because I've kept the Series 1 closed, the original ones that I found in the store, and a couple other things too. There was some great prices on stuff. Some of that stuff is still, like, even though the sale is quote unquote over, is still available at those awesome prices. So use code AIC to save yourself an extra 10% when you're looking through your Ringside stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, again, it's one of those things where, the prices there are definitely a little bit over MSRP, but they are a small business, and
you get it before it hits store shelves.
Exactly. And you're saving yourself, especially with the AEW stuff, which is really, it's kind of like feast or famine.
It's starting to show up more.
Yeah. But I mean, you'll guarantee yourself the figure, getting it from Ringside. So definitely check it out. And also their Defender cases are fantastic. If you
Defenders rule.
If you have figures that you want to keep nice on card, we tend to be openers here for the most part, but if there is something special, like if you have, if you're fortunate enough to have a chase or a rare from Jazzwares, or even if
they
you
automatically put them in one of those Defender case when they send you a chase. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. If you're fortunate enough to get a chase pull, they will send it automatically in the Defender, which is super nice of them. So, yeah. So before we get into our Christmas chat, our going back in the history, let's learn a little bit more about our guests. So I know this is not an unusual format, a break from our normal format, but ToyFarce, tell us a little bit about how you got started in the world of toy satire.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I've been in part of the toy community for a long time, but mostly as an observer or just commented a few times on different Facebook groups or any social media. And every once in a while I would post a joke post. For example, if I was following some Hot Toys action figure group, I would make a joke like, Hot Toys announces this figure, and put just something that's completely absurd that nobody would ever want to buy. And it always got some success, some reactions to it. So one day a friend just told me, like, why don't you make your own page and just post those there? And it evolved from, like, you'd see the first few posts I did were really just Hot Toys and 1/6 scale figure, because I was just making more jokes about that. And slowly I started to add Hasbro, Mcfarland toys, and every other brand that I also collect. And that turns out also nobody was doing it before I started. There was no toy parody news and stuff like that. There is some for wrestling in the shape of kayfabe news. There is some for every other thing that exists except for toys. So I just decided, I like to make joke about toys. I'll do that. And that's how I got started. Opened up Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter right away with the name. I thought about the name. I wanted to have the same logo as Toy Fair, which was a magazine that I loved and that I grew up with. And just adding a C to the logo to make it look like it's actually that. But in the end, I was just afraid they would sue me or something. So I just made my own logo. Even though they don't exist anymore.
How long have you been doing this now?
Officially as ToyFarce, it's a little bit over 2 years. I think we started, you started this podcast like a couple of months before I started doing this, and that's why we started to chat with you a bit more and all, because we both started at the same time and kind of at the same growth slowly and all that. So
I was gonna say, yeah, it was you were one of the first like other bloggers that we really were kind of chatting with, going back, just trying to navigate the waters together, which has been a lot of fun, honestly.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But yeah, it's so much fun to watch your to see your posts all the time and like see like the growth behind them, and like we have behind the scenes chats about like sending each other memes and stuff that potentially could maybe one day be ToyFarce content.
Definitely, yeah.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now get any breakfast sandwich for just $2. Available only through the app. Mobile order and pay available at participating McDonald's. McD app download and registration required.
And now, back to the show.
So speaking of the content, what has been some of your most popular content so far?
The one that seems to still be sought after and getting clicks all the time is the one where I said that the Swedish inventor of the Detolf glass cabinet from IKEA was mad that people use them to put toys in them. Apparently, when people search for Detolf on Google, it's one of the first results somehow. And also I did a few one where I said that like leaked reveals of DC Multiverse from Mcfarland Toys, and there was like the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, George Clooney figures and all that, and there seem to be still people commenting on it like, is this true? When are they coming out? Like, that's a joke.
Well, see, I think that's part of the brilliance of like how you're going about doing what you're doing, because you go back and forth between like, here's a review of this figure, and you do a really nice review where you take great photos, and like sometimes you'll sprinkle in like a funny pose or something like that. But for the most part, like the review is on the nose. Like it is what it is. It's just a review of the figure, and it's well done.
But it's honest reviews in the sense that sometimes if something is not great, I do not shy away from mentioning it.
Yeah. And you go from that to a post that's like obviously funny, like say like one of my favorites is the Spawn with the trumpet. That was
a classic.
That's easily like top 5 ToyFarce posts for me. In fact I have that Spawn, like he's like a permanent member of like my desk crew, and most days when I look at him I'm like, where's his trumpet? Like it's an actual thing that goes through my brain.
I'll have to send you a trumpet. I have to.
You know what? I've been looking there's like one of the hobby stores by us, like either Michael's or Hobby Lobby, one of those. I have to look, because now is the time of the year when like those like little like trumpets and French horns and stuff start showing up as part of like Christmas ornaments. So I have to look and see if they have one. But yeah, that the kind of flip-flopping between the stuff that's real, the stuff that's obviously satirical, and then the stuff that's fabricated so well that like even knowing you, there have been times where I've been like, wait a second, is this real? I don't know, is this real?
Well, sometimes companies throw me a bone, like when NECA announced the musical mutagen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figure, people were asking me like, is it you? No, those are real. Or when they were announcing the tiers for the Rancor, like, is that a joke? No, that was not me. I'm sorry.
I actually saw the first comment that I saw when they announced the cardboard was somebody added you on the in the comments were like, at first I thought this was an at ToyFarce post. And and like me being me, my initial reaction was like just like cringe for the Hasbro team, but then at the same time I was like, but wait, no, like ToyFarce is our friend. That's actually really cool for him.
Yeah.
It's not great for them, but it's really cool for him because, like, there's a visibility right there.
Well, then I made more absurd tiers myself, so
The one that had me like laughing just like for the sheer like I didn't even think of this, and you know how sometimes it's just a thing that catches you and it just has you laughing for like minutes over for reasons you can't explain. The Spider-Man What If figure, the Spider-Man Supreme one with the Christmas Story leg lamp accessory.
Yeah.
Like I just for whatever reason was dying for minutes like laughing because I was like, that's yeah, you see this random leg, especially if you're not doing the build-a-watcher. Like, yeah, let's put a lampshade on that.
Yeah, I think it's those kind of posts which are like basically just like the first thing I thought about, or a stupid reaction over something that you post that and people seem to react more to it than if I spend a week preparing an article and all, and then there's like 30 people reacting like, yeah, that was not funny. And you're like, come on.
Hey, remember that time I gave Spawn a trumpet? Come on.
I give everything a trumpet since then, but yeah.
It's like your thing. It's your I'm surprised your logo, your little Grogu wearing the hat logo hasn't grabbed a trumpet yet.
There you go. I was looking for something to change.
There you go. He needs a trumpet. Done deal. Speaking of reactions to your content, one of the things that kind of always comes up when it comes to publications, especially ones that operate in the realm of kind of that satirical humor, sometimes there's backlash, right? Whether it's thinking about big names like Mad Magazine or other publications like that. Have you had any run-ins with any kind of like backlash yet as you've been doing this?
I've had I think it was a DC Multiverse post where I said as a joke, like, they're going to make a Super Pets wave. And in the post, there was a picture of, like, Crypto, the Hound dog, what's his name? Batman's dog.
Batman's dog.
Ace, the Hound. And
Ace,
the squirrel, Green Lantern squirrel and all that. And somehow I got a tweet from Warner Brothers that were like, please remove this. This is copyrighted, infringement and all. And I still to this day don't know why that post specifically got their attention or not. And the next day they revealed the trailer of the new movie. So I think they kind of thought that I was revealing or leaking that, but that was not my point. My point was they make jokes that Todd McFarlane, who makes like a gnarly action figures and big creature like Swamp Thing and all that, would make a pet dog and a bat cow as the build a figure. Like, they didn't read it, obviously, but somehow they asked me to take it down right away. I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
Never got a message from IKEA or anything about the Detolf, but Warner Brothers, they were mad at me for mentioning the Super Pets.
That's a perfect example of wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And with that movie, I wouldn't be surprised if there are actually super pets coming.
I mean, the McFarlane's making those Disney Mirrorverse figures, so he's got and the Avatar one. So I mean, he's got his toes dipped in the world of like
kids friendly figures,
and the Batman 66 too.
We're very far away from the tortured souls and the figure he used to make, huh?
Yeah, the movie Maniacs.
Yes. We have what was the Alice in Wonderland ones that were like really messed up?
Alice in some horror land or something like that.
Yeah, some
even
of those
the dragons, they were super cool.
Oh yeah, some of those early McFarlane's toys are nasty. Like they are gross. There's a really good I shouldn't say really good, really great photographer at Collect Horror is his name. And he took a picture recently of, I think he used one of the newer like NECA Ultimate figures, but he used an old Mcfarland. I want to say it was like a girl in like a bathtub.
Bathory, Elizabeth Bathory from one of the wave, yeah.
And he used that in the picture, and I did not recall that figure ever existing. And I actually messaged him, and I was like, "How did you do that? Like that edit on that to get? Because that looks gross." And he was like, "Oh, it's this figure." And I was just thinking, like in my head, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they made that figure back then. That's insane."
Yeah, some of the tortured souls were like straight out of Hellraiser.
Yeah, well, it was Clive Barker.
Which I think they were. Clive Barker, yeah.
That all tracks. That all.
Yeah, it makes, now that I
makes perfect
think
sense.
about it.
And there were those small playsets also that he had with the 3 3/4 inch figures of like Frankenstein, Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and all, but with this like kind of twisted vision of them, and they looked awesome. They were like really bloody as well.
Yeah, I remember the laboratory one with Frankenstein's monster. I remember that one with the like it had the like bed gurney thing that was on the hinge. Yeah, that was a cool.
And the Igor with it.
Mm-hmm. That was a great set.
Yeah,
I think I actually had that at one point.
I still have it somewhere in a basement.
So tell us how you partnered up with Toy News International.
Oh, that was a very, very intricate thing where he just happened to ask. And then he sent an email out of the blue once. Jay from the Toy News International sent like, "Hey, how about a partnership or collaboration? Could you post maybe exclusively on our website or something?" I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, that's how could I say no to Toy News International, which is the website that I've been the first website I check in my bookmarks every day for the last 20 years. That's
that is so it's so cool, because like there are a couple of those toy blogs like Toy News International and Dan Pickett with Action Figure Insider that have been doing this, and Khalil with Caster's Corner, that have been doing this for like in some cases like 20
decades.
years, plus
much respect to them.
And like when you made that announcement, I actually got like no joke, I got like emotional. I was like, this is so cool, because it is one of those websites that has survived the kind of migration of news moving from people going to blogs and websites to getting it from social media. Like people still go to Toy Newsy, and that's the congratulations.
It's like one of the most trustworthy sources. Thanks a lot. And we had a few conversations with Jay, and he was saying that he's been looking at what I was doing, and that he sees that I'm poking fun at things, but at the same time I have a point sometimes. Like I make fun of things that Hasbro or any other brand does that bothers the collectors in general for real, but I say it with like a funny twist so that the companies can actually understand that there's a problem, but not being like pointed at them like in a comment section during a live stream, let's say. Not toxic like that. More like hey, I make a joke about it, but still that's a problem.
It's tasteful, and like as funny as it sounds, like as we're talking about, satirical humor, it's professional. You conduct yourself in a way where there is negative feedback towards something, it's provided in a context where it's almost kind of like softened by the humor behind it.
That's what I tried. I don't want to make a page of people just commenting badly about everything. That's already the internet. It already exists. It's called Twitter.
It's called the comment section on any Hasbro live stream.
Yeah,
but it really
YouTube,
is
pretty much.
Kudos to you, man, because you've figured it out, because you're doing exactly that. You're presenting, an honest take on things in a way that is thought provoking, but also funny. And I think that's the key. Anybody who is getting bad news if there is some way for them to get that bad news and, something that, and I'm not saying like life-changing bad news, but like bad news where it's like an opportunity for improvement, right? It's much easier to get that information where it's like, look, this is a really cool thing. We're still having fun with it, but
Yeah.
Here's something that you can improve on. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss, especially people who are, who kind of live and breathe in the live chats and the comment sections and stuff, where it's like, you still have a thing that's really cool, and like probably one could argue like at least 90% of said thing is really cool, but here's something to think about. And again, the way that you do it is really effective, and it's fun, and it's been amazing, watching you kind of develop that voice over the last 2 years.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I try.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like the line between like critique and just flat out just bashing something. It's actually fine when you think about it. It's a very fine line, and just being able to kind of like critique but still show the love for the thing that you're critiquing is almost an art within itself,
Yeah. I still have the passion for toys. Like, I'm a second generation superstar toy collector. My father collected the old vintage Star Wars figures when I grew up, and my mother, everything that would have to do with E.T. or the Smurfs, the small, like, Schleich plastic PVC action figures of the Smurfs. My mother must have like 400 or 500 of those, like pretty much all of them.
Wow.
So I grew up in a house full of toys the whole time. So I grew up reading those old Action Figure Digest and Toy Fair and all those magazines. And also I kind of had this, I already had the journalistic toy review thing embedded inside. I was just like, I also like to make fun of things, which makes me horrible at a funeral, for example. But if I could make fun of toys and all, I was like, I actually have ideas of things how to make fun of that, but not being just mean or stupid. Like, a lot of people are asking me now, like, why didn't you post something when the Rancor failed? Like, what? Just post a post with the title like ha 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 in full caps and all? That's just stupid. That's not funny. That's just mean. So no, I stay away from stuff that are gonna get toxic reactions on purpose. But otherwise, everything else has carte blanche, like we say in French. Pardon my French.
Well, I was gonna say, I hope we get at least a little bit of French on the show. We neither of us speak it, but like we get a little bit. Dave, would you like to fulfill your role as this podcast's James Lipton and ask our final question?
Yeah. So as is tradition when we have a guest on this show, the final question of the Q&A. So, ToyFarce.
Yes.
What is your favorite and or strangest piece in your collection? It can be one of each, or it can be both.
For strangest, I don't think I can go further. Like I mentioned, my mother collected E.T. memorably as I grew up. And maybe you already see where this is going, but there was an item that was sold about E.T. that represented E.T.'s finger in a card packaging. I had lots of questions from my friends growing up about that. The glowing finger of E.T. is probably the weirdest thing that has ever been in my home. I have a life-size E.T. in my home, actually, also, but that's just something that...
Oh my god, we love E.T.
Awesome.
We're huge E.T. fans here, so...
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I had the glowing finger as well.
Nice.
The battery operated.
If you haven't told her already, you need to... I don't know if your mom still collects E.T. stuff, but...
Yes, absolutely.
The Noble Collection, the Bendy Figs line, is going to be producing E.T. Bendy Figs for the anniversary. So they should be out in 2022.
That's cool. I will definitely tell her or order them for her right away. As for the favorite, well, I guess from now I do have that Spawn with a trumpet that I have on my desk as well, that I kind of like look at every day and just think like, how did it go that far? Just making a joke like that. And so I would say this is one of my favorites right now, this good old Mortal Kombat Spawn with a trumpet that I got on Amazon.
Well, there you go. We got a favorite, and we got, honestly, the ET finger is something that has come up on this show before.
I think Steve Evans mentioned it.
Evans, right.
I was going to say previous guest, friend of the pod, pillar of the toy community himself, Steve Evans. We talked about the weirdness of the finger, and boy, it's up there with that Jar Jar Binks tongue lollipop thing.
Who doesn't want to make out with Jar Jar Binks?
So some decisions, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. Well, go explain to your friends why your mother has a ET finger in its packaging on her shelf.
You know what, though? At least, truth be told, it's probably easier to explain why it would be more difficult to explain why it would be out of the package. At least if it's still in the package, it could be like, listen, this is weird, but like it doesn't come out of the package, so like everybody chill.
It says ET. We have ET stuff.
All right. So now that we've asked the final question, now let's get in the Griswold family car and head off for Christmas. This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you.
I hope there's going to be a car with a hot chick driving next to us, like in the movie.
Yes, Holiday Road is currently playing in the background.
Christy Brinkley drove by.
Lindsey Buckingham, right? That's who sings that Holiday Road? Yeah.
Well, that's the song. Yeah. We've the bells are back, and I guess we'll have a car.
Yeah, I'll try to find the right Foley effect for that.
The sound of that car, specifically.
Russ? Right here, Dad. So Ghosts of Christmas Past. So in the past, we've traveled back to our Christmases of old, to discuss fond memories, and I feel like one of the tropes of Christmas, especially as we get into our older years, is talking about the things that we never got, right? Like the biggest trope of all time is I wanted a pony for Christmas, and you never got a pony, unless you're Lisa Simpson, who eventually got a pony. But yeah, it's one of those topics that kind of comes up time and time again, especially with like the wide and broad history of toys. So I thought this would be a fun opportunity, as adults to look back and say what if, and ponder the question what if. So what was the one thing that got away? What was the one thing you always wanted for Christmas and you never got? And again, ToyFarce being our guest, if you would like to go first, you are welcome to.
Sure thing. The year is early 2000. That's not a year, that's a period. Well, the period is early 2000.
The era.
The era, yes, thank you. And one morning I was watching wrestling, the WWE at the time, and there was, during their show, they showed a quick presentation of their toys that they were going to have at the toy fair that year or something. It was early 2000 or 2001 maximum. The first few waves of Titantron figures were out. So we had already the first entrance, the one that came with the Vince McMahon with the bright gray suit that he never wore on TV ever. And they showed on that small skit where they were showing the new figures that were going to come out, there was a Titantron that was the SmackDown entrance of the time with the big ovals in the back, the gray silver ovals entrance. Do you guys recall that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And there was in the back of it a small screen that was actually playing the videos of the Titantrons while you put the figure instead of just the music. I prayed for my parents for that thing that actually never came out even. That was just like a display thing, probably for the toy fair. But I have asked for that thing for 2 or 3 Christmases in a row, and I got the SmackDown entrance, but without the screen. And I was like, that's not the one. I wanted the one with the screen. And my father was like, no, it does not exist. That's not possible. It would cost $100. Like, especially since nowadays we still don't have that technology. We just barely have it for the basic fun small TVs that we get from, I think they're Walmart exclusive on your side of the world.
Yep.
So there wouldn't have been a small TV in a Titantron set in early 2000. That is not possible, right? But in my head, it was.
You saw it. It was
So
real.
I saw it on TV. It must be real. And so I asked for it for such a long time and never got it. And well, it turns out a few years ago, for Christmas, my dad actually sent me one that they made recently from Mattel, where you put your phone in the back of it and you play the videos on the screen of your phone, and then it works like that. And he sent me this as there you go, you have your video stuff. And I was laughing really hard on that, because that's just something that I always thought existed 20 years ago, which absolutely did not, but I really wanted it. So it escaped me for all those Christmases.
It's funny you talk about that, because I remember that. I vividly remember that moment, because we also had the Titantron, the first Titantron, the one with the Vince figure.
That thing was so cool.
And we figured out eventually how to hack it, where you can make it play whatever music you wanted.
Same. Well, tinkering under the shoe, you could unscrew the thing and there was just a small resistance, right?
Yep.
We went to the hardware store and we bought 15 different ones to try them all.
To see if there was anything hidden, right? Yeah. But I remember that really well, and I remember that video thinking this one actually plays video. And same thing, we got it. And you know what resonates with me with that entrance stage more than anything else, absent the screen, was I always hated that on the entrance ramp they had painted these kind of blue lines coming out from where the spotlights would have been, and they just kind of looked like they stained the stage blue, yes. There was these blue streaks on it. Always drove me nuts.
100% I see what you're talking about, yes.
Always drove me nuts on that
Plus
stage.
It was some really light plastic. It felt like a Happy Meal toy or something. It was not even
the
that
rings
great
never really stayed together when you lined them up. They always kind of were askew. It was not one of the better play sets from Jax at that time.
But if it had a video, it would have been.
Yeah, cheap plastic, poorly painted lines. If it played video, it wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered. That would have been amazing. That's a good one.
The tiniest plasma.
I was not expecting.
In early
I was not
2000.
expecting any of us to pick a thing that didn't exist.
It existed for me.
It was real to me.
Still real to me. Damn it.
Dave, would you like to go next, or would you like to go last?
I could go next.
Okay.
A pony.
Stop it.
No. So it was tough for me to kind of decide what to do. And it turned out 2 out of the 3 were really kind of blessings in disguise in a way.
Okay.
One was this board game called, and it wasn't even a board game. It was kind of Simon with a cassette player and a weird little scoreboard that I don't know if that's even really the best way to describe it. I totally bought into the commercial, but this thing wound up being something that broke frequently, and it was so good that I never got it. It was this board game called Mr. Game Show.
Okay.
And it was this little animatronic game show host that stood on this pedestal and narrated whatever was on the tape. So it was the Teddy Ruxpin technology with Simon technology built in as the puzzle game, which was the game show. And it was something I wanted because it was just this animatronic board game that just seemed cool. But word got around that it was something that broke frequently, so I wound up not getting it. And then, Rob the Robot is one too, where I was I wanted Nintendo, but I wanted the robot too. And it worked with 2 games. And
worked was very generous.
And really wasn't very fun. So, it was one of those things where it was I really wanted it because I thought it looked cool, and Nintendo was the coolest thing of all time. And it was the worst part of it. The worst part of Nintendo. It was Gyromite, and there was one other game. I forget what it was called. It was the Power Pad, that was...
Or really,
at least I was
any of the accessories that weren't the light gun.
That wasn't the zapper, yeah. the power pad, I kind of knew my limits, so I was like, I'm not running in place. Like, and then the other thing was that I never got was the Ljn British Bulldogs.
Oh,
Like, I wanted them so bad, and I never got them.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you never had those.
No, I never had the Bulldogs.
Wow.
That was the one tag team. Like, I had the Killer Bees. I had, well, they were the only one that I got as the tag team because everybody else was, like, it was Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov and, like, Hulk Hogan and Hillbilly Jim, I think, were the other two.
Weren't the Heart
and the Heart Foundation?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Heart Foundation.
But I had them all, like, individually. So all that was different was it was 2 belts. But I never got the British Bulldogs.
Interesting. I didn't know that. All right. Well, I'll finish up here. Mine we're gonna head to the 90s. As I've mentioned time and time again on the show, the primary, the bulk, the lion's share, if you will, of my collection is 3 3/4 Star Wars figures. The thing that I've always wanted, and to this day, like, I have picked one up at a toy show and very nearly bought it. They go for so much now, and I just don't know where I'd put it. But as a kid, I always wanted the Kenner, the Power of the Force relaunch, the green box, the AT-AT Walker, the AT-AT.
Oh.
I always wanted that set. At the time, it came with 2 exclusive figures. It came with you can't have an AT-AT without an AT-AT driver. So it came with the pilot, and it also came with the AT-AT Commander, which was basically what's his name from Indiana Jones. I can't think of the actor's name from Last Crusade. But he was the commander in the film. Not Piet, not Admiral Piet. Veers, General Veers.
Veers.
So it was not labeled as General Veers, but it very much so. If you look up a picture of it, it's effectively him. But I always wanted that AT-AT Walker. It was an electronic thing as well. So it made sounds. It had light up cannons. It had launching missiles. It was a beast of a thing. It's expensive now. It was expensive at the time. And frankly, space is a luxury. And Dave and I were very fortunate as kids where our parents pretty much made it happen if we wanted it. But I already had the Millennium Falcon. I had a TIE Fighter. I had an X-Wing. I had Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. I had the Slave One. I had, ships on ships on ships. I had A-Wings. I think I even had a Y-Wing at one point. But this thing was just so big, and it was so expensive, and it just never happened. So it never materialized, and it's still the one that got away. When Rogue One came out, and they put out the Rogue One version of the AT-AT, which is a little bit different. It had that big orange door on the side of it. Even then, when Toys R Us was blowing out toys, I almost bought it on clearance there, but the same issue. It's so big. I don't know where I would put it, and even storing it is a problem because the box is huge as well. To leave it in the box. Yeah, so that was the one thing where and I mean that's one of those things where as a kid you're not really concerned about where am I going to store this because the entire living room floor is your playset. So it would have been awesome back in I was probably 95, 96, 97 the latest when that came out. So I would have loved to have had that thing back in the day. The adventures I would have gone, that would have been in the backyard in the snow. It would have been so much fun. Yeah. So that's the one that got away from me. So maybe one day Santa will hook me up and I'll eventually have my AT-AT Walker. But until then, I have an ATST that I'll have to do.
You often see those tweets also at this time of the year of someone says, today marks the 34 years that I still didn't get the USS flag from G.I. Joe. That's one of the big ones that,
Yeah.
it takes too much
Talk about
space.
Have you ever seen that in person?
Yes, it was incredible.
Yes.
It is way bigger than I ever imagined it was. I only saw it for the first time very recently. Like, Dave, what was that? That was like 2 years ago at a toy show.
It's the size of a table.
I mean, one of my friends had it.
It is. It's like it's effectively.
It's huge.
It's effectively a table. Truth be told. Yeah, and it's funny too because people always float the idea, like anytime like HasLab conversations come up, people are like, you should redo the flag for, this was before O-Ring. They're like, you should redo the flag for classified.
Yeah, I did a post about that, and I had like a size comparison, and it was like the size of the entire living room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like an old computer when it just was the computer.
Yeah, you would need a flag.
It's like you know those Jurassic Park side by side where you see the dinosaur and a human next to it, and the size you can see the scale compared to each other. And there was like the USS flag was taking like 8/10 of the picture, and the small human next to it. It would make no sense logistically at all.
Yeah, it would be a tough sell for like. All right, so granted, the Sky Striker worked out for the Joe team, in a HasLab, but honestly, like I would be terrified to see what a flag for O-Ring Joes would cost these days. Because everyone making the assumption like, oh, they made the fighter jet, so the fighter jet needs somewhere to land, so like they have to make. First of all, they don't have to do anything, but
they
like
have to.
Yeah,
people are like they have to make somewhere for the jet to land now, and it's like, well, they don't. But
also, the barge.
Like,
yeah,
that was.
It would probably be in that ballpark. Would be my guess.
No, it would be bigger.
Definitely bigger. Because
the sail barge is very large, but the flag is significantly longer.
If you put the Sky Striker on the barge, it's probably like taken half of the space of it, and the USS flag was still way bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So.
But yeah,
there you go. Like.
So those are the ones that got away. I'm curious now as a father of two if in 25 years my kids will be like, yeah, I always wanted this and you never got it.
They'll have a podcast and they'll record about toys they didn't get.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see if that ever happens. I mean, my eldest wants the Barbie Dream House this year for Christmas, and spatially we can't swing that. But she's getting the Barbie Malibu house, which is a little bit smaller, but it's effectively the same thing. So
I can see the conversations like, but Dad, you have the barge from Star Wars. Like, why can't I have this?
Funny enough, I do not have the barge.
Okay.
That is my as an adult collector, that is my biggest regret. Not a day goes by, and again, I have no flippin' idea where I would put this thing. I'm already like dreading when the Razor Crest gets here because I got to figure out where I'm putting it. But at least the Razor Crest comes apart, so like I can make like a museum diorama out of it where I'm going to like basically take one of the engines off and take the side panel off so they can see the inside and make it part of a display. Nice. But like the barge, there's no way to do that with it. Like it's either assembled or it's not. And
even the box is huge already by itself. So
like Blaine recently posted a picture of him standing next to the box, like as a throwback. And the thing is like almost up to his shoulder.
Yeah,
it's insane how big that thing is, and like it is probably the most special piece that's ever been produced for the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars line. Like I think an argument can be made that it's probably the most special piece, but like logistically speaking, the coolest thing outside of the way Steve has his displayed, the coolest thing I've seen somebody do with that is they bought a table that happened to be the longer than this
custom
thing,
made,
wider
maybe
than
even
it. And it has a glass top And what they did was they sealed the sail barge, like not permanently, but sealed the sail barge in the bottom of the table underneath the glass. Yeah. And it's like a permanent staple in their home. So like every day, like when they're sitting down at their TV, like they have this low, almost like coffee table style table that has the sail barge in it. And I think that's the coolest thing ever, but I don't even ever going to do that.
Yeah, that's super cool. I've seen people do that I have the Hot Toys Batmobile from Batman 89, which is huge. And it's on top of like 3 Detolfs right now and just fits barely on that. And I've seen people put a glass table custom made with like exactly the size on each side. And then it's like just locked inside of it. And that would be really nice as well.
One day.
Display
goals.
Yes.
Yeah, just that new generation arena is coming.
Dude, that's another one where like I decided to back that thing too. For the sake of having like a scale ring and photography and like the, some of the figures were interesting to me. But like looking at pictures of scale rings, like the Jazzware scale ring right now that has Ref Aubrey, yeah. That's another one where I'm like,
it's huge.
When I set that thing up to shoot it, I don't quite know where I'm going to actually shoot it. Like I feel like the dinosaur in Meet the Robinsons. Like I don't think you thought this through. Yeah, so we'll see what happens when that gets here. That'll be a conversation
Got some
starter.
Time still, so.
That'll be a conversation starter.
Mm-hmm. I think you meant
and by
argument.
Conversation starter, I mean, yeah. I was gonna say, and by conversation starter, I mean
there will be a conversation, and you will neither start nor end it.
Precisely.
It's called the talk.
Well, with that, gents, I think it's time to wish everybody a happy holidays, however you spend it, whoever you spend it with. I think I speak behalf on everybody when I say that I hope everybody stays safe and stays smart this holiday, and does what they can to enjoy it as much as they can as safely as possible. Before we let you guys go, ToyFarce, remind our listeners, where can they find you on the World Wide Web?
On the World Wide Web, they can find on social media at ToyFarce pretty much everywhere, or on Facebook as well. And the articles and reviews are posted on Toy News International, toynewsi.com.
You know what? Since you have the awesome accent this episode, and we haven't spent the entire episode talking about our New Jersey accents. Why don't you send us off in French?
Joyeux Noël et bonne fête à tout le monde.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.
Gearheads know that some projects need so many parts, it feels like you need a whole storage unit just to store them. That's what eBay Motors' 122 million parts are for. Think of it as your virtual parts garage. They've always got the right fitment at the right prices. Use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
At Giant Eagle, we've always loved our perks. Now we're excited to welcome you all to the future of loyalty with My Perks. There's no math, less rules, and more perks. 50 perks equals $1 off your total, and there are no limits. Plus, you earn perks even when you redeem, so you're always building rewards towards free gas and groceries. Guests who earn the most perks can now unlock My Perks Pro, and pros get even more pumped up savings. Visit gianteagle.com/myperks to switch today.